Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise and deliver insights you can actually use. In our world today, everything's connected. And that means the drumbeat of cyber incidents, data breaches, all these evolving threats. It's just constant. For any organization, really, it's not about if they'll face an attack, but when, and more importantly, how well they can actually stand their ground and, recover. So today, using the excellent source material you've provided, our mission is to really dive deep into the heart of that cyber resilience. We're talking about the incident response team, the IRT, and the security operations center, the SOC. We're going to pull back the curtain a bit, look at their structures, the people involved, the skills they need, and the intense training that keeps them effective. You're essentially getting a shortcut to understanding not just the tech side, but also the, surprising human elements and partnerships that make these teams work so well.
Exactly. And I think what's really crucial to grasp here is that this isn't just tech talk for security pros. Not at all. This deep dive is relevant for, anyone who uses secure digital systems, which, let's be honest, is pretty much everyone these days. Understanding how an IRT and SOC function gives you a much better lens for viewing, organizational resilience. It helps appreciate how deeply security is woven into a modern company. It's about seeing those guardians behind the scenes.
Okay, right. Let's jump straight into it then. The sources, they throw out this, it's like an alphabet soup of acronyms for these teams. You see CERT, CCERT, IRT, CERT, even things like WARPs. For someone just trying to get a clear picture, what do these different terms actually mean? Are they really distinct, or is it mostly different labels for the same kind of function?
It's a really good question, and it does touch on something interesting about the cybersecurity field. So while you have all these different abbreviations, CERT, CCERT, IRT, and the rest, they generally point to the same core idea. You've got a dedicated team. Their job is managing and responding to security incidents in an organization. The variety in names. Well, it often comes down to history, maybe regional differences, or sometimes a slightly different focus, like a warp warning, advice, and reporting point might lean more towards communication. But the key takeaway, I think, isn't confusion. It's that this wide array of terms actually shows how universally recognized the need for this kind of team is. Across industries, governments, everyone sees the necessity. It's less about fundamentally different jobs and more about different contexts for, the same critical mission.
Okay, that makes sense. It paints a clearer picture, a consistent need, just maybe expressed in slightly different ways depending on the context. Now, here's something our sources highlight that I found genuinely fascinating and maybe a bit unexpected. It's this really important, almost surprising relationship between human resources HR and the security operations center. How on earth do these two departments, which seem so different on the surface, work together so closely?
Yes. This is a perfect example of how security today really isn't just a technical silo anymore. It cuts across the whole organization. You see, what often gets missed is that HR, which many people think of as just admin or, compliance, they're actually a key strategic partner for the SOC. Think about it. HR manages all the people,
Right.
from the moment someone's hired to the moment they leave.
The whole employee life cycle.
Exactly. And that puts them right at the center of a lot of security functions.
Right.
Take access, for example. HR usually kicks off the process for granting access, not just physical access, like getting into the building, but also digital access to systems, websites, data. The SOC then steps in to provide the technical controls, the monitoring, to enforce those access rights that HR initiated.
Okay, I see the connection there, access control.
But it goes deeper. HR often sets core organizational policies, things like ethical conduct, rules for using company devices, how sensitive data should be handled. These aren't just HR rules, they're fundamentally security policies too. So HR sets the policy, and then the SOC configures the technology to back it up, to enforce it, and importantly, to watch for violations. And there's more knowing. HR often decides which devices people use, like laptops or phones.
Yeah.
The SOC's job. Make sure those devices are secure, patched, monitored. So the big picture is HR manages the human element, often the biggest attack surface, and they're frequently the first line of defense. Their partnership with the SOC isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential for real resilience.
That really does reframe HR's role in the security picture. It's much more strategic than I might have initially thought. So given this kind of integrated setup, what kind of person really excels in a SOC? It's obviously more than just being a tech whiz or knowing how to code. Our sources point to a really interesting mix of skills.
You're absolutely right. Technical skill is the foundation, no doubt. But it's the human side, those cognitive traits, the personal qualities, that's what really makes a top-tier SOC analyst stand out. On the technical side, yeah, you need a solid grasp of network protocols, how they work, the ports they use, how data flows. You need to understand vulnerabilities. And familiarity with common attack methods helps too. Things like brute force, overflows, denial of service, plus a general idea of how malware operates. That's kind of the baseline toolkit.
Okay, the technical baseline. But what
Yep.
else?
Well, here's where it gets interesting. Beyond the teachable tech stuff, the truly crucial things are an intense passion for technology itself, a real genuine curiosity, almost like a detective's mindset.
Yeah.
Good deductive reasoning, critical thinking, definitely, even a bit of creativity in how you approach problems, and fundamentally just this constant desire to learn, to gain more knowledge.
So it's that drive, that curiosity.
Precisely. The real insight is that while you can teach someone syntax or how to use a specific tool, that analytical spark, that ability to see patterns in the noise, to turn data points into actual intelligence, that's harder to teach. It's that inherent drive and adaptability that lets someone thrive when the threats are changing literally every day.
That's a powerful point, the difference between teachable skills and that innate drive. Okay, so building on that, we've got the team, we know the kind of skills they need. But like you said, cybersecurity is always moving. The landscape shifts constantly. Our sources go into a lot of detail about different kinds of training. Let's dive into how these teams actually stay sharp and keep evolving.
Absolutely. Training isn't a single event. It's this ongoing, multi-layered thing. We can sort of group them. First, you've got what I'd call foundational and internal competency training. This covers everything from stuff that might seem basic, like company tours, how the phone system works, building access rules, where documents are stored.
Why are those seemingly mundane details important for a security team?
Great question. Because if an analyst doesn't fundamentally get how their own organization operates the context, how can they effectively defend it? You need that baseline operational knowledge. This also includes crucial things like data handling rules, classification policies. These need regular review, refresher courses. It builds that core understanding. Then there's internal skill set training, making sure everyone does the job consistently, and job task qualification, where you actually prove you can do a task and a supervisor signs off. It's about building reliable internal competence.
Okay, so mastering the internal landscape first, then what? How do they branch out into external knowledge and tools?
Right, that brings us to the next layer, external expertise and specialization. This is where things like formal training courses and certifications come into play. These verify that someone hasn't just learned something, but they've retained it to a recognized standard. From places like open security training, SANS, maybe online platforms like Udemy or Coursera, or even university programs, Maryland Cybersecurity Center, Carnegie Mellon, places like that.
So getting that broader, validated knowledge.
Exactly. And alongside that, you have specific tools and product training. This is absolutely vital. The team needs to know how to actually use the security tools they have in the SOC effectively. This training is often tailored, maybe focusing on new features in a product, tips for using the interface, advanced operations, how different tools integrate, and the vendors who make these tools. They often play a direct role, offering specialized training, keeping the SOC team updated on enhancements and new capabilities. It's about maximizing the arsenal they have.
That makes sense. Combining deep internal knowledge with broad external learning and specific tool skills.
Precisely. It's a blend.
Now, there's a lot of structured learning there, but the sources also mention on-the-job training, OJT, as being really crucial. What's so uniquely valuable about that direct one-on-one time with more senior staff, and how is it managed?
OJT is really where theory hits practice. It's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. It gives people direct, step-by-step coaching from experienced colleagues on actual real-world tasks. You're not just reading about it, you're doing it with guidance. And it's not informal. It's usually tracked pretty rigorously documented task proficiency checklists. A senior person has to sign off saying, yes, this person has demonstrated they can do this competently.
Okay, so it's structured practice.
Yes, but here's the really key insight from the sources, and it's critical. OJT isn't just about mastering the technical steps. It's just as much about learning vital soft skills, interpersonal communication, customer service skills, how to talk to users, how to explain complex things clearly, how to collaborate under pressure, because while the technical analysis is obviously important, the ability to communicate effectively. The sources say it's vital to everyone's success. OJT is where you really hone those practical people-facing skills.
That's a really important dimension. So with all these different kinds of training, internal, external tools, OJT, how do organizations make sure it all actually happens effectively and consistently? How do they manage this complex training landscape?
That really raises a critical point. You can have all these great training components, but without a proper documented training plan, the whole thing could easily fall apart or become inconsistent. A well-thought-out plan is absolutely essential. It ensures everyone in the SOC knows what's expected, that they meet those expectations, and that they're genuinely capable. It also, importantly, maps out potential career paths. It shows people what they need to learn and demonstrate to grow within the team.
So it provides structure and clarity.
Exactly. And it's not just about having the plan on paper. It needs rigorous follow-through. Using checklists helps individuals track their progress, and having that senior sign-off on completed tasks builds accountability. It makes sure the investment in all this training actually translates into real, verifiable skills and readiness across the team.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. You need the plan to orchestrate it all. So now we have a team. They're highly skilled. They're continuously trained. What do they actually do? What are their roles and responsibilities? Our sources talk about roles of the team versus roles in the team. Let's start with the broader picture, the roles the team as a whole might play in the organization.
Yeah, that's a really helpful distinction. The roles of the team basically describes the team's overall mandate and level of authority when an incident actually occurs. It's a spectrum, really.
Mhm.
At one end, the IRT might have complete, unquestioned control over the incident response, including all the affected systems and data. Full authority. At the other extreme, their role might be purely advisory, just offering indirect support, giving advice, but not actually touching anything or directing actions. And then there are points in between. Maybe they share control with the IT operations team or the business unit that's affected, or perhaps they provide direct, hands-on technical support, but still ultimately in an advisory role to the business leadership. Which model an organization uses often depends on its structure, its culture, its tolerance for risk, and of course, how severe the incident is. It's about defining the IRT's power and place within the bigger picture.
Got it. That clarifies the team's overall authority and function. Now let's zoom in. What about the specific jobs inside the SOC? What are some typical roles and their distinct functions?
All right, so within the SOC itself, you usually find a well-defined structure with different roles, each needing slightly different skills and having a different focus. It's like an orchestra, each section playing its part. Typically, at the front lines, you have the analysts. These are often tiered, like level 1 and level 2. Their main job is managing and monitoring the alerts coming in from all the security tools, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, authentication logs, you name it. They're often very user-focused too, helping resolve security-related issues for employees. They're the first responders.
Okay, the alert handlers and initial investigators.
Exactly. Then you often have security engineering.
Yeah.
These folks are more focused on the security infrastructure itself. They manage and monitor things like endpoint security software, maybe vulnerability scanners. They usually need a strong networking background and do a lot of the deeper troubleshooting within the SOC to make sure the defenses are working correctly.
So they maintain the tools and the infrastructure.
Mhm. Then, moving towards strategy, you might have a security architect. Their role is often about improving the team's overall capability. They might plan new security solutions, act as a technical resource for the analysts, answer tricky questions, maybe develop test scripts to make sure the security systems are actually effective. They're looking ahead.
The planners and senior technical experts.
Precisely. And finally, you typically have the SOC manager. This person is the crucial link between the SOC and the rest of the organization, including maybe larger corporate security groups or IT leadership. They need to understand the business needs, communicate the SOC's value, act as an advocate or evangelist for the team's work, and handle reporting and strategy. They make sure the SOC is aligned with the business and visible.
The leader and liaison.
Right, so each role, analyst, engineer, architect, manager, it's distinct. Different job descriptions, different day-to-day goals, but they all have to work together seamlessly for the whole operation to be effective. It's a very interconnected system.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground there. A truly deep dive into this fascinating world of incident response teams and the security operations centers. We went from, sorting out that alphabet soup of names right at the start to understanding that surprising, really vital partnership with HR. We talked about the necessary blend of technical know-how and those crucial human skills like curiosity and critical thinking. Then the incredibly comprehensive training needed to keep everyone sharp. And finally, mapping out those distinct but interconnected roles that actually make up a successful, functioning team.
And reflecting on all that, it really raises an important point, doesn't it? What we've discussed today makes it crystal clear that having strong security isn't just about installing the latest tech firewall or software. That's just one piece. It's actually this dynamic living thing,
Yeah.
a human-centric ecosystem, really, that's built on constant learning, on having really clear roles and responsibilities, and on these deep partnerships across the entire organization. It's far more complex and, frankly, more human than many might realize.
Absolutely. Our goal today was definitely to give you that shortcut to help you become really well informed on what goes into building and running these critical teams. And maybe just a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as we wrap up. Thinking about just how multifaceted this is building and maintaining a SOC, where you've got people, complex policy, and advanced technology all tangled together, how might that shift your perspective on what makes any organization truly secure? And maybe what new questions does it make you want to ask about the security practices behind all the digital systems you rely on every single day?